Hi, everybody. My name is Judith Merkinson, and on behalf of the Haiti Action Committee, I want to welcome you to our fourth annual poetry event in support of the Haiti Emergency Relief Fund and in support of UNIFA, the UNIFA Hospital of the Aristide Foundation in Haiti. We have a wonderful lineup today of incredible poets and singers. And I would ask, we also are going to have an open mic. So I would ask all of you who want to participate in the open mic to please sign up on the chat. I would also ask all of you, if you can, to both mute and stop your video so it's not distracting to other people. Before we begin our poetry segment, we're going to hear from our beloved and wonderful co-founders of the Haiti Action Committee, Pierre Labossiere and Robert Roth. And they're going to give a brief update of what's happening in Haiti and about the Haiti Emergency Relief Fund. So I'm going to turn it over now to Pierre and Robert.
Yes, hi.
I think you go first.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Such a great event that I've been looking forward to. And I want to thank particularly Caroline Scarr, who started it all, who had the initiative and the foresight to start this Poetry for Haiti event. And it's been going on since that time. So thank you very much, Caroline. And I want to thank EPI, Ecumenical Peace Institute. I'm a board member, so is Caroline. And so for their support and their solidarity with the people of Haiti. Along with that, another big thank you to each and every one of you for your solidarity. That's been now decades long. The Haiti Action Committee is 30 years old as an organization. And it's been based in the Bay Area, and we've had just enjoyed tremendous support from so many organizations that have been in solidarity with the people of Haiti during these 30 years. So my many thanks to each and everyone for your support. And what's going on in Haiti continues to be the struggle of the Haitian people for dignity, for the right to live, the right to make their choices, the right to have food, shelter, education, healthcare, clean drinking water, and support for their families, the right to live, basically. And so this is being denied to them repeatedly by a system in Haiti that is not only is it exploiting people by paying them starvation wages for the people in the factories, but when the peasant farmers work, they are so overly taxed, and their tax monies do not go into their community to provide them with the support system that people need. For example, education, no schools for them, generally in the countryside and even in the cities, and the lack of hospitals, the lack of medical care, the lack of support for peasant farmers to be able to produce, and so on and so forth. Our teachers are not paid regularly, and many teachers haven't been paid for months. Some go back as far as I've heard, at least 18 months without pay. This is a shameful situation. Was it always that way? No, it wasn't always that way. The Haitian people, when Famila Valas, President Aristide was elected in office, it was Haiti saw a big change in what had been a very dire situation coming from the dictatorship of Papa Duvalier, François Duvalier, from 1957, and followed by his son, Jean-Claude Duvalier, known as Baby Doc, who took over after his father's death in 1971. And the Haitian people have faced misery imposed on them by an international system that called its new program structural adjustment. Supposedly by squeezing people, it would help the trickle-down theory of the Reagan era that countries, the poor, would be able to achieve, to go to a land of milk and honey, which was all a lie, and they knew it. So the people of Haiti, as people everywhere, have been resisting against that. And this is the resistance that propelled to power President Aristide, the overthrow of the Duvaliers for one. Secondly, the election of President Aristide, and it wasn't without the loss of many lives. Many people gave their lives for the right to vote, and in protecting their vote as well, many were killed during that process. So today is a continuation. What you are seeing in Haiti today is precisely the continuation of this struggle. So what we have now is when President Aristide came to office, the second time in 2004, there was a bloody coup d'etat against him. 2001, he came into office 3 years later, 2004, was the bloody coup d'etat. And that coup d'etat was not only against President Aristide, but it was against many elected officials, local and national. It was against a program that put people first over profit, a program that started giving the Haitian people, putting their tax money to their own use in terms of schools, in terms of hospitals, in terms of food, in terms of school subsidies for the children of Haiti, for the students in Haiti. School was subsidized at about 70%, school books and uniforms. And people had free transportation. Students had free transportation to school. So it was a program that was giving land back to the farmers, so our farmers could work the land, and also was providing them with the kind of accompaniment in terms of seeds, in terms of fertilizer, in terms of agricultural equipment and scientific technical support, so that our farmers could increase their production. So in short, it was a program that was really making real life over death, improving the lives of our people. Was it Shangri-La? No, we were not there yet, but we were well on our way to getting Haitians to not to leave Haiti anymore, not to flee Haiti. And as a matter of fact, many of the Haitian refugees, people who had been refugees before, were coming back home. Many Haitians were coming back home. So in 2004, bloody coup took place. And what we are seeing today, 18 years later, as a result of the coup and the subsequent United Nations, United States occupation of Haiti, that is perpetuating this system. So what we are seeing is a continued effort to make sure that the coup continues to be in existence, the coup regime. And what is this coup about? It's about removing, rolling back all of the gains of the democratic movement. It's about taking back land that was given to the peasant farmers, to take that land back, to give it, put it in the hands of a greedy minority that is in control in Haiti. It is about taking control of Haiti's natural resources, and I'm talking about copper, bauxite, gold, silver, uranium, iridium. Those are material resources that are in existence in Haiti, petroleum, on which the development of Haiti, the dream to make Haiti a better place for Haitians, was based on. And it's working with those resources, and also our greatest resource is the humans, the Haitians themselves, the youth of Haiti, who would be put to work so that they could better the country. So what we are seeing is an effort by this tiny minority, along with foreign multinationals, to completely take those resources for their own selves and chase out the Haitians from their own homeland. And that's what we've been saying. So for the past, ever since the coup, we've been seeing a massive exodus of Haitians fleeing Haiti, fleeing the regime of terror that has been taking hold in Haiti. Right now on the ground, we have what the press, generally the mainstream press, I would say the corporate media, calls gangs that are taking over Haiti. I'm sure you all have read that. But they make it appear as if those so-called gangs are not connected. Nobody knows where they came from. No, Haitians, the prevailing opinion in Haiti, the prevailing view, and based on the statements of many of those so-called gang or death squad leaders, they say that it's people in power and big business in Haiti and abroad that is giving them the weapons and the support so that they can be conducting their reign of terror. They brandish those weapons. Haiti doesn't make those sophisticated assault rifles and ammunition that we are seeing them brandishing and spraying gunfire all night long or even during the day. The situation is terrible, but it's really based on this campaign of terror. Just like we noticed during the first coup d'etat of 1991, there was a terror group called FRAP, alongside the Haitian military that was terrorizing people. Both the military and FRAP were terrorizing people in Haiti at that time. And one of the activists I spoke with yesterday told me this is very much like the days of FRAP, maybe much worse, given the level of killings that is going on. And so this is meant to create terror in the population. But is that working? Yes, the killings on the increase. Horrible, horrific killings. Horrible, horrific gang rapes against women activists and women in the community. The destruction of many of the farmers' markets as a way to undercut and destroy the local economy of Haiti. But despite all of that, the Haitian people continue to massively, massively resist. We cannot say when, pick a date and say, well, 2 weeks ago, that was the start of the demonstrations. As I see many times it's being said in the media, in the corporate media. No, these demonstrations in Haiti by the people against the imposition of the system has been taking place ever since the coup started, the coup of 2004, and it's been ongoing. But recently there has been an upsurge in the massive mobilization of our people. And this upsurge came about a week ago. And the response of the Haitian police has been brutal, brutal. The repression has been brutal against people who are simply peacefully demonstrating. They've been using tear gas, live ammunition. In the city of Lekai, 4 people have been killed between last Saturday and Wednesday of the past week. And 4 people killed, 17 people wounded by gunfire. In Jacmel, the city of Jacmel, 5 people were wounded by gunfire on Monday. And other places, Port-au-Prince on Monday, 2 people were killed and several others wounded. Many people have been arrested. And so this is just a terrible situation that is happening against our brothers and sisters. And they are determined to fight on. They are determined to fight on in the spirit of Father Jean-Marie Vincent, who August 28th, 1994 was murdered by the Haitian military and the FRAP death squad. In the spirit of Lovensky Pierre-Antoine, who was disappeared on August 12th, 2007, and so many others who are being killed and disappeared today as we are speaking. So I'm going to close by thanking you for your solidarity. I want to tell you to keep up the struggle with us. The Haitian people are in the thick of the struggle. August 22nd, August 14th, and August 22nd are 2 important dates in Haitian history. These were the dates when our foremothers and forefathers unleashed this massive, what is known now as the Haitian Revolution, but this massive rebellion from the plantation against the system of colonialism, the system of slavery, and successfully resulted in Haiti being founded as a nation in 1804. And so in that spirit, I want again to thank you for your solidarity, for your support, and let's stand strong with our sisters and brothers in Haiti. Thank you all.
Thank you, Pierre. And I think that that provides a background to why we're doing this event today, and also why this event is a benefit for the Haiti Emergency Relief Fund. And I wanted to thank everyone for being with us, for taking your time out from your weekend to support the grassroots movement in Haiti, and of course, to hear some fabulous artists. This program is a benefit for the Haiti Emergency Relief Fund, HERF, and HERF was founded in 2004 in the wake of the coup d'etat that Pierre was talking about, that overthrew Haiti's first democratically elected president, Jean-Bertrand Aristide. And thousands of people had been killed in that coup. Thousands more had been imprisoned raped, burned out of their homes. Health clinics and schools had been destroyed, and thousands more people were displaced. Many of us were in Haiti in the months after that horrific coup, and we saw that firsthand. And from the beginning, the Haiti Emergency Relief Fund has dedicated our work to supporting the people's movement to rebuild what had been destroyed, to rebuild the gains that had taken place during that period of the Lavalas governments, of the Aristide governments, and to support those fighting for true democracy and social justice in Haiti. And we've never wavered from that commitment. In the nearly 20 years since we were founded, we've funded grassroots projects in education, human rights, and healthcare. We've supported women's agricultural cooperatives and mobile health clinics. We provided support in the wake of the devastating 2010 earthquake that killed over 300,000 Haitians. After Hurricane Matthew devastated Haiti's southern peninsula, and after the 2021 earthquake that once again struck the island. We've been there at those times, and we will continue to be there. And we've always been there to support community activists who've built schools, who've set up cooperatives, and who've resisted the kind of repression that Pierre was talking about, repression that emanates from US-imposed regimes that continue to haunt Haiti. We've given direct aid to refugees who've had to flee Haiti, and to internal refugees driven from their homes by paramilitary violence. And in the last period of time, over the last year, the numbers are staggering of people who've had to flee because of the repression in Haiti, close to 20,000 internal refugees at the latest count. And our work has always been driven by solidarity and is firmly based on our collaboration with Haitian organizations and activists. One of the key projects that we're now supporting proudly is the University of the Dr. Aristide Foundation, UNIFA. After being shuttered during the coup, UNIFA reopened when the Aristides returned from forced exile in 2011. It now has over 4,000 students, many from the most marginalized communities in Haiti who would never have been able to attend university before UNIFA began. There are schools of medicine, engineering, pharmaceutical science, nursing, law, agronomy, economics, the first school of physical therapy in Haiti's history, dentistry, and continuing education. And this is an amazing achievement in the midst of the terror and repression that has engulfed Haiti. Hundreds of doctors and nurses have already graduated from UNIFA, and they're already hard at work in communities that have traditionally never had access to medical care. And that's the kind of work that you've been supporting with your funds and with your solidarity. UNIFA is now ready to open a teaching hospital in the Port-au-Prince area, which will provide its students with practical experience and provide urgent medical care to a population that has had little to no access to high quality care. And the hospital is officially opening in the fall, and it's going to be a crowning achievement of UNIFA so far, but already its doors have been opened. And on July 15th, Dr. Aristide's birthday, the first baby was delivered at the hospital via a C-section. And it was a real cause for celebration, not only in the hospital and not only for the parents, but throughout Haiti, which was a symbol of the pride and the determination that Haitians have to build their own institutions right now. And UNIFA is a crystal clear example of Haitian self-determination. Haitians building their own institutions, creating a model for a new and just Haiti. And that's the work that HERF has been supporting. And with your help, Haiti Emergency Relief Fund can continue to support these kinds of grassroots efforts throughout Haiti. You can make donations throughout this event afterwards and tell your friends and people that you know in your organizations or your networks. You can go online to Haiti Emergency Relief Fund at www.haitiemergencyrelief.org. You can see more about our work and more about the kinds of efforts that Haitians are have been doing in the midst of terror, in the midst of the kind of repression that has come from the UN occupation and from the US domination of Haiti. Again, thank you all so much for taking your time out from the weekend to be with us today. Now let's get on to the poetry.
Thank you, Robert and Pierre. Now we all know what Haiti Emergency Relief Fund is doing and why it's doing it from the update from Pierre. You know, poetry, music, art is intrinsic to any political movement and to any revolutionary movement, to any movement for social justice. We can't just have talking. And we're so proud and happy to have the artists that we have today. Our first poet unfortunately can't be with us live because of a family emergency, but we have a taped presentation from our wonderful Devorah Major. And I want to say all the poets and artists who are participating today have given so much to the struggle for Haiti and have always supported the Haiti Emergency Relief Fund and the Haiti Action Committee, as well as the people of Haiti. So we want to thank them in advance for their incredible work. Born and raised in California, Devorah Major served as San Francisco's third poet laureate from 2002 to 2006. In 2019, her sixth book of poetry, With Open Arms, was released in Italy. Khalifa's Daughter was published in 2020. In July 2015, she major premiered her poetry play, Classic Black, Voices of 19th Century African Americans in San Francisco at the SF International Film Festival. And we're so happy to have her again today.
Hello, it is a pleasure to be able to present to you today and to encourage you to take this opportunity to support Haiti in any way you can, but certainly with any money you can donate to the cause. Most of the poems I'm sharing today will be poems that I've somewhat recently written, mostly this year, but not only. This first one is called Island Woman Speaks of Tongues. My line comes through Jamaica and the Bahamas, so Caribbean island woman. They took my words, all of them, not knowing that in my home I spoke many languages, not only to family, traders and voyagers, but to hawk and chimpanzee, sandpiper and dolphin. They took my tongue, gripped my throat tightly, and commanded me to use only their words. Yes, sir, madam, please. Limited ideas that did not tell of spirit or legacy. We will not speak of the Bakra, who, as we tossed in the belly of their demon ship, tore into me like a spear, chasing the neck of a lion, spilling my blood, yet leaving inside the seedling of a son. My son, whom I taught all my remembered languages until he understood wind and star and smoothed his freedom road, whistling the birds to quiet their song as he passed by, sending a raven to my window to let me know he was now a man unfettered. Some call me Obia woman, ask me to make juju so they would become invisible, so all the bakra would dry up and die, so we could return home. But now I only know of healing song and the gift of animal languages and learned words the invaders, rapists, and slavers would not teach me, like struggle, survive, surmount. This one is from a news report of how the Haitians were and are, no doubt, still treated at the southern border of the United States. Southern border overseers greet Haitian migrants. They had crossed a sea, walked hundreds of miles, sun kissing their glowing obsidian skin, immigrants with hunger sewn into their bones, a need for freedom born in their DNA, a discipline to work and struggle, and island people seeking a place for their children to sleep without pain, without fear, to grow their own dreams. They gather at the border only to see horse reins transformed to whips like the ones that once engraved their ancestors' backs. The sounds of galloping to recapture them again, return them to sugarcane fields and slave households, a heart-locked memory sheltered in bloody tears. Over 200 years fighting for freedom, yet still horses high-hooved circling, crack, whistle, whip back, as if they needed a reminder of slavery's legacy, always hovering inside of liberation's promise. And this was my response to all of the news pundits who, when Americans do horrible things, proclaim this is not who we are, as if America doesn't have a consistent history of barbarism. And certainly vis-a-vis Haiti, from supporting French reparations that have been repaid many times over, to the Marines embargo, to getting rid of Aristide. American identity. This is not who we are, newspeak pundits splice in between commercials, turning from the truth that this is indeed who many of us are, American seditionists and murderers, racist and rioters and vandals, with a history of rampages painted across the globe. Ask a horsewhipped Haitian who he knows Americans to be. Ask an Iraqi widow. Ask an Afghani farmer. Ask an Agent Orange deformed Vietnamese peasant who we Americans truly are. Take note of the first peoples of this land slaughtered, the African peoples enslaved and tortured, Chinese people sacrificed for railroad hegemony, Japanese people imprisoned and reviled, Muslim people scorned and exiled. The list is long and has no end. This government and we, the people, with all our wounds and warts, this is who we are. I cannot point fingers at everyone, but let us be clear. The aberration is not them. So do we excise the cancer or keep denying this part of our body while it grows more virulent, metastasizing on all of our vital organs? Down pressers. This poem, The Down Pressers, is inspired by Bob Marley's "Woe to the down pressers, they'll eat the bread of sorrow," because inevitably we will rise up. You walked on our bones for centuries, turned them to sand, poured into sandboxes for your children to build sand castles. And when the sand became translucent, filled with sunlight burning your eyes, you found more to sacrifice, sent vultures to strip away our skins, and built ladders formed from our ribs, limbs, and skulls on which you climbed to get a better view of the lands you planned to conquer. And now we rise, joined by some of your children and grandchildren who have eaten of shame and refused to travel on the rails you laid with our bones. And each of you who blocks our path, tries to press us back, will be blinded by our brilliance, blinded by our brilliance. This is I'm an optimist. I do believe things will go as they should go ultimately. And this comes from something biblical. Although I'm not a Christian, I think that many of the books, be it the Bible, the Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, etc., have much knowledge in them. And this is from the phrase, "Who shall inherit the earth?" In Amharic, I once heard, the correct translation was not the meek, broken, crushed, humiliated, low, who would inherit the earth, but the gentle. And we are inheriting these streets, even as some sleep on them only to be swept up and return. Sharp the edges of so many of our lives, fierce with hunger and pain, so much disillusionment and so very few triumphs. Even as the rulers squeeze tighter, cutting short our breath, hobbling our steps, harnessed together, we will inherit the earth such as it is, sad with violence and pestilence, the air clotted and gray, islands covered with an ever-rising sea, churning, churning. Still it is becoming ours. Even as they wage their gruesome wars, killing and selling, buying and exporting death, advertising the price for each kill factored into the decision to research, develop, manufacture, and buy the newest weapon to kill more quickly, more anonymously. Even in the face of this hegemony of arms, every side buys from every side sells from every side. Not learning the lesson of scripture, when you shoot your weapon shoots you. Even the pawns choose their weapons, aim and fire and die. Still, we gentle are joining together more and more tightly, inheriting the earth from these others who want only to have, to hold, to own, to control, as if they were hurricane and sun, arrogant in their perceived power, not understanding that all of it will explode or else disintegrate, and they will be left with misshapen, impotent stories of the times that used to be, while we will remain, remembering our many losses along the way. Still wounded and reeling, we gentle will inherit the earth and pull out our seed stock and begin to plant anew. And for those who may be interested, the Amharic translation of this is, "Blessed are the gentle, for they shall inherit the earth. Blessed are they who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied." And I do think that is true, but I don't think that satisfaction will necessarily come from on high. I think it will come from us, and it takes a movement. And I begin this with an Audre Lorde quote. "Even the smallest victory is never to be taken for granted. Each victory must be applauded because it is so easy not to battle at all, to just accept and call that acceptance inevitable." Audre Lorde. We know of storms and barricades, and we know of changing tides. We have been wave after wave after wave, surging together, reshaping the land, human in our fragilities, human in our strength. We have stood still, slipped backwards, pushed forward, are pushing still because there is further to go. There was a time when it was harder to stand, but we stood. Harder to step forward, but we strode. Harder to speak out, but we sang together. It took a movement then, it takes a movement now. History is nothing but moments strung together, moments of passion and moments of pain, moments of hunger and moments of feast, moments of forbearance and of rage. But somehow, when we climb into those moments, together we expand the reasons for celebration. Together we reduce the amount of toil, of injustice, of fear. We are at a crossroads once again, our time once again to smooth the road we walk upon, to stand up, to step forward, to speak out. We are never the beginning, we are never the end, but we are always at the front. We who know of dirty fingernails and hard work, we who tend the births and deaths, we who teach and guard, guide and attend, plant and reap, clean and cook, paint and sculpt, investigate and report, and care for more than each other and our charges. We are a movement, moving past indecision, moving past fear, past resignation, past tired, past disgusted, past overwhelmed and disgusted. We are a movement, remembering our victories, however large, however small, and carrying them into tomorrow while moving from the impossible to the possible. And I'd like to end with this and encourage you, please, please contribute. Help Haitians to finally truly have the agency and the self-determination and the freedom for which they have fought and earned. Rise. We bow with respect, kneel in homage, give thanks to our ancestors, and then we rise. We bend in harsh storms. We stumble and fall, pull each other back up, broken at times, but we heal, and then we rise. They stuff our mouths with their fear, twist our children with their venom, deny our history, breaking all mirrors which reflect our true selves. But we wash our mouths with flowing river water, cleanse our eyes with gentle spring rains, take our children to the sea and unwind their limbs as we tell them stories of how we've survived, of how we carry our ancestors' breath inside our mouths. We teach our children who we have been and who they are and why we must learn to climb mountains with sturdy ropes and enduring faith, of why we must climb closer and closer to the sun so that we, like it, will rise and rise and rise again and again. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. And thank you, to paraphrase Devorah Major, we are blinded by your brilliance, and we can see how much art can move us from the impossible to the possible. Born and raised in California, in San Francisco, Tango Eisen Martin is an award-winning poet. His book, Heaven is All Goodbyes, received a 2018 American Book Award and California Book Award. He is an educator and organizer whose work centers on the issues of mass incarceration, extrajudicial killings of Black people, and human rights. His latest curriculum is We Charge Genocide Again. 2 years ago, he co-founded Black Freighter Press to publish revolutionary work. He is now the 8th San Francisco Poet Laureate. Tango?
I had this dream, planted dead in a weekday, that I was laid up in the hospital. And people kept coming into my room by the dozens. And each dozen had special handshakes for each other and occasionally current dance moves, strange cha-chas and soft shoe shuffles like they were dancing for a white sundial, marking numbness in their feet, drum race riot. And I was, ready to die, because as the musician in the tunes after chord, it's the surroundings that is the uniform, but still I just couldn't bring myself to visualize against God. One of them stood over me like a conductor, waving their arms over my body, directing my heart to beat fainter and fainter, directing the tubes to turn the fluids back. And I faded from consciousness with thud after thud on the legs of my bed as they danced wilder and wilder. Well, wild but meek, or artificially meek, like an artificial pastor told them to be. I was to be some kind of projection or character to be laid at their feet. You the only one participating in the revolution today. They mocked me. I was ready to go because, there are plenty of pianos that could use a new soul, and I'm thinking we're supposed to be in the revolution for as long as it takes, so you can punch me out now. I was born with one foot in the lion pit anyway, but Man, check it out. No one bothered to ask the doctor if I was really dead. Too busy strutting, too busy kissing. And I was fading with only enough breath and sweet consciousness to count their smiles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then I heard a voice, a whisper. It was counting with me. 6, we said. 7, 8. Then another voice joined us. 9, 10. Then another. See, I haven't been eating, Mama. I've been in a trance. I haven't been sleeping. I've been washing my face off the port of Charleston. There's blood on the fog. You know, these little societies wander together like hopeful drops of a virus. Citizen Testament is bent on offering me a nation of breadwinners to hold me back like it's a Brinks. I wrinkle the concrete sometimes like flesh. My Martin Luther King permanence turned away from a podium into the reeds like God is a dangerous twin. Black August to the mountaintop balcony on my bedroom floor. You know, they steal you from the earth itself and suspend you in your broken neck from their foolish euphoria. From the loyalty over their great superstitions, loyalty over their agrarian reform, I returned to my mother completely disrespected. The peeling the heat off of purgatory, they kill poets like me. Walk me away from my poems, never to be heard from again. In this final industrial complex of bloodlines picked over, picked through, a sporting spirits of death of your devil at least half made police become a pretty word. I'm reading a lynch mob shoestrings like they were tea leaves, teaching you how to write about cities. It's the 25th century in the mirror, people. Tyranny against the chump change. You're a chump to be mocked even with a gun in your car. A cubit of needlework spelled tune for the proletariat, the relapse ministry. Talented people curled up in a fetal position next to a diamond dime. Just another service day in the theatrics of tea house fascism and a bouquet of surveillance cameras and the poverty of God. New blue eyes, corpses of water, a newly potted presidency, one big shiny corn if you're asking animated capitalism, and other non-literal voids killing his white freedom. The deification of hyphens, medicine bread and picture shows, great protesters in LA, guests of our ink, drop kicking roses in the graveyard, DC mink like a stone torn in half, the pen advances despite CIA guideposts, despite non-African past and futures, a metaphorical but not surreal day in a horn-ridden life horn player improvising king. Like a radio prize fight featuring Shango himself, a real hand sweeps the land of racism. May I return to the ground? May I make progress with the gun? On our mother Emmanuel, they put on music that evening. A swinging type body language for you to drink with fermented $5 bills for your body language. Some applause, my past stomach lining, neither a good thing nor a bad thing, like being psychic on the way to a lethal injection. It'll sit you down with Lady Day. Lady Day leading youth who surrendered their souls to Africa too soon. Polity thought floating in the cup of water she saved me, accessing my stomach, accessing the love of the American lynch. Coat sleeves, wooden avalanche to the wrist, our mother Emmanuel, avalanche to the sharp keys, pain. The deal you make with pain, a piano makes sense for them. Laying hands on the world gradually. Addressing the bending necks on the streets of the north. Travel sailing in pain, repeating pain in this north. 10 trigger fingers on that piano if harmony would happen. Putting 100 fights on every direction offered her. Lady Day, leaning on trees again, recruiting the countryside itself, saying, lay plan on this lightning. Make your poems a corner pocket of men. I've greeted the blues itself. America may clean my dead body, but will never include me. There goes the poet. Killing without killing. Never mind this painting of your language. May I be a meaningful lynching. A crow's passing. Good and dead by the afternoon. You know, first I should have apologized to the souls of the house because I'm wearing the cheekbones of the mask only. like a pill bottle whose name is yours, name tagged on the side of a factory of wrists. I mean, teeth of the mask now, back of the head of the mask now. A new phase of anti-anthropomorphism fending for real faces. Stuck with one of those cultures that believes I chose this family. I'm not creative, just the silliest of the revolutionaries. My blood drying on my only jacket, the police state psychic middleman evangelizing for the creation of an unmasked, an unmedgar, blood of a lamb less racialized or awesome prison sentence, right angle made between a point on a Louisiana plantation and a 5-year-old's rubber ball, 3 feet high and falling like a deportee plane, to complete my interpretation of garden variety genocide. I'm small talk about loving your enemies a little more realistically, about paper tigers and also gold. I need my left hand back. Broke my neck on a piano key. Found paradise in a fist fight. Maybe I should check into the Cuban line. Watching the universe last metronome, some call black Jacobins. Hey, just wait. These religions will start resigning in a decade or two. Some colorfully, some transactionally. In a cotton Gothic society, class betrayal gonna glass us. I mean, ironically, my window started fogging over too, as I was trying to figure out which Haiti would get me through the winter, which poem houses souls, which socialist breakthroughs. Breakthroughs like taking 10 steps back and finally trying stillness, like introducing Gabriel Prosser to Thelonious Monk. I mean, I remember childhood. Remember the word childhood being a beginning. Scribbling on an amazing grace, I rented this body from some circumference of slavery. Remember being kicked out the Midwest. Strange fruit theater, lithium and circuses, like-minded stomachs, the ruling class blessing their blank checks with levy phone, with opioid tea, $10 dollar bills yelling to each other, pocket to pocket. Cello stands in the precinct for accompanying counter-revolutionaries. My mother raised me with a simple pain. A poet loses his mind, like the room has weather. A first girlfriend gravity, difference between me and you, the madness wants me forever. A pair of apartments defining both my family and political composure. Books behind my back, bail money paved into the streets, playing euphoria, euphoria cliche. Bracing for the medicine's recoil, sharing a dirty deli sandwich with my friends. Black Jacobins, underground topography of a grandmother's hand, psychology of the mask now. Teeth of the mask again. I go to the railroad tracks and follow them to the station of our enemies. A cobalt-toothed man pitches pennies at my mugshot negative all over the United States. There are toddlers in the rock. Now I see why everyone out here got in the big cosmic basket and why blood agreements mean a lot and why I get shot back at. I understand the psycho-spiritual refusal to write white history or take the glass freeway. White skin tattooed on my right forearm, ricochet sewers near where I collapsed into a rat-infested manhood. My new existence is living graffiti. In the kitchen with a lot of gun cylinders to hack up. House of God in part, no cops in part, my body brings down to Christmas. The new bullets pray over blankets made from the old bullets. Pray over the 28th hour's next beauty mark. Extrajudicial Confederate statue restoration. The waistbands before the next protest post. Hey, by the way, time is not an illusion, Your Honor. I will save your deaths for last. You're a widow, Your Honor. You're moving money again, Your Honor. It is only raining one thing, not white cops. And prison guard shadows reminded me of spoiled milk floating on an oil spill, the neighborhood making a lot of fuss over his demise, a new lake for a Black Panther party, Malcolm X's ballroom jacket slung over my son's shoulder, the pigment of village, a new noose to a new white preacher, all in an abstract painting of a president. Bought slavery some time, didn't it? The tantrum screeches of military bolts and election Tuesday cars, a cold-blooded study in leg irons proof that some white people have actually fondled nooses, that sundown couples made their vows of love over opaque piece plastic and bold action audiences. The Medgar second is definitely my favorite law of science. Fondled news clippings and primitive Methodists, my arm changes imperialisms, simple policing versus structural frenzies, elementary school script versus even wider white spectrums, artless bleeding and the challenge of watching civilians think, terrible rituals they have around the corner. They let their elders beg for public mercy. I'm gonna go ahead and sharpen these kids' heads in their ears myself and see how much gravy spills out of family crest, modern fans of war, what? With their t-shirt poems, their t-shirt guilt, and me having on the cheapest pair of shoes on the bus, I have no choice but to read the city walls for signs of my life. Capitalists eat until the world is blurry to them. These streets are made of saliva. And some people made of saliva too. They usually got on uniforms. While a crazy man spins round and round trying to make a record out of this mass production jungle, maybe I'll join him, count cash and cry. These streets are made of saliva and white sheets are worn by a building in which kids are supposed to learn how to read well. White sheets on the highway too. Another mayor needs their head on a pike. One down is just one down. But if you tell all this to the masses, your teacher will pipeline you. They told me I was jewelry. They told me this is jungle. Well, maybe not jungle, more like 50 machine guns planted in the ground. It's raining faces again in California. What does this say about heaven? What does it say about the people you kill? Waiting lines got so exhausted, a million minds dropped all these faces at once. If the fascists can read the lips of a giant talking in his sleep, we might as well make our demands in prison letters. Today was born the most important trigger finger in the world. Today I begun counting down the pages between now and a pile of books by a tunnel. Chicago is going to walk out of Chicago one day. Babies will drag street signs like old toys. Today, the most important letter left prison. Babies will laugh at flags like faces that disappeared. Maybe I'll join them. But for now, these streets are made of saliva, and we raise half full glasses to the basements that meant nothing and the working poor who live there. We get shot. We get white sheets on California, where the kitchen table likes to talk as much as the walls of romance on the porch consists of hard resigning. I mean, this picture characters talk spit, know that they hard to kill. The kitchen table knows this. The porch is almost convinced that one down is just one down. This town is coming to town. A circus watching itself, half distracted, half suicidal, thrilled children dressed as cops, thrilled children preaching and policing and intaking and hiring and snatching your money. This town's coming to town with tough trademarks to follow. Today, I watch capitalism walk on water and people play dead so that they could be part of a miracle. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tongo. You know, I feel like it's a really good description of Haiti to say capital East until the world turns blurry. And that's why we're here, to listen to these incredible poets, but also to raise money for the Haiti Emergency Relief Fund. And I urge you all to go to www.haitiemergencyrelief.org. And next, we're going to hear from a beloved poet in the Bay Area, Avacha. Let me just find my, and we've known Avacha for decades, and she has always been here for Haiti, for Puerto Rico, and for all movements for social justice. So it's a great honor to have her here today. She is an award-winning poet, playwright, multi-percussionist, photographer, and teacher. She's a popular Bay Area radio personality on KPOO and KPFA, and is also a DJ. In May 2014, the Berkeley Annual Poetry Festival honored her with a Lifetime Achievement Award. She also leads the group Mot du Puy, which is the Bay Area Blues Hall of Fame jazz group of the year 2010 and 2005. Thank you so much, Avacha, for performing today.
I'm so honored to be here, folks. As they say, Haiti needs your support, whatever you can give. I know money is really hard right now. Whatever you can give, please think about giving it this afternoon to this wonderful island that has given so much and has paid a horrible debt for, doing the unthinkable things like declaring their freedom. Wow. I wrote this a few years ago for Haiti. It's called Indestructible or Indestructible Haiti Mystic Garden of Dreams. Mama Haiti, beautiful, magical incubator, mother of miraculous visions, you are the sacred womb of our freedom, still infused with the spiritual integrity of Bukman. You are the divine light, the driving force, the seed that fed the dreams of Anacaona and Toussaint Louverture. You are the intangible source that ignites the fire inside the underlying unifying sincerity of a Jean-Jacques Dessalines. The promise in your voice cuts through steel, a mystical machete that sings through rah-rah prowess. And the whole world drinks your tears, trying to wash themselves clean of your pain. Mama Haiti, the fiend of green may have tried to kill your economy and blindly deforest the wealth of your souls, They may have desecrated your rice fields, but you always bounce back. You are the light. And right now you shine on the newest incarnation of the emperor has no clothes. Your unbreakable spirit is so powerful that even his story blushes at the whispered international embarrassment of having to admit defeat. Defeat at the hand of determined Black peasants, defeat of the world's strongest armies, defeat, a bitter pill, an off-key soundtrack, salt in the wounds to accompany the fall of an empire. And you're still paying for it, paying for an evil not of your making, still paying in bloody deprivation for the behind whipping that left Napoleon crueling. Beautiful IT, sacred womb of freedom. Hold on, hold on, hold on. The emperor has no clothes and you are the light. The whole world finally sees right through the obscenity of his nudity. And it's not a pretty picture. Majestic Haiti, proud incubator of independence, I too bathe in your sorrow. But after so long eating from the bowl of poverty, there is no hurricane or earthquake strong enough to re-enslave you. You may be stunned, knocked down for a minute or two in shock, but they will never, 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 ever knock you out. And like they couldn't lock you out of the palace gates, the proofs in the memory of the strength of even your piss, a communal gift of poor folks' piss, eating its way through the aluminum plated greed of sanctimonious despots. And we will not see you be defeated, Mama Iti. You are our Che, our never ending, unbeatable spirit of freedom. You are the light. Your spirit is immortal. And this time, the best of humanity is ready to help you be reborn. You know, sometimes they try to make it sound like people like Bookman or Harriet Tubman or what have you, they're a rarity. But the truth of the matter is, and I'm not trying to minimize their gifts that it gave us. The truth of the matter is every place people have been enslaved, there have been people who've rebelled. And so I want to put this out there in case people forgot, it's called Never Alone. We have never been alone. Marcus Garvey, Arturo Schoenberg, David Walker, Ida B. Wells, Dessalines, and Queen Nzinga, and all those other incorruptible ancestors who showed their contempt for slavery and servitude by spitting in the face of evil, jumping overboard and freeing their souls, proud, unchained souls whose restless spirits still roam the ocean's floor, stamping their presence on our dreams and minds and hands, revealing their essence and creativity all over the globe. We were never alone. Zumbia Palmares Kawaya, also known as John Horse Harriet Tubman in Argentina's El Negro Falucho, our beautiful, brilliant ancestors manifest themselves in life-saving rhythms, rhythmic vitamins like La Bomba, bold rhythmic magic revitalizing our lives with samba, rumba, lando, joba. They sing to us in daydreams and dance with us on stages. Their tears become our paintings, our books, our poems, and feed our self-esteem when life tries to get in our way. We will never be alone. Ya Esantewa Denmark Vesey, Granny Nanny Alonso de Yescas and Gaspar Janga, the unstoppable freedom fighter hero of Veracruz who reincarnated themselves in each and every one of us, said, hell no, we're here. We are free, and no matter what they say, we're here today and we're here to stay. We are the voice of the millions of ancestors whose names we never got a chance to know. Ancestors who know that some of us are brave enough to know their truth, to know that we were born to tell their truth and sworn to repaying their sacrifices every day with our actions. A sacred legacy written in blood, forever inscribed in our souls, the internal tattoo, an inescapable reminder to never let us forget to remember the price they paid for us to know that we were never alone, that we are never alone. I say we are never alone, and we will never, never, ever be alone. This next one is in Spanish and English. It's called Diaspora Negra, or Black Diaspora. Escuchando al aviso de los vientos africanos, lo más viejo de los viejos, de mis bisabuelos, tiró nuestro idioma en las aguas. Mejor una comida para los tiburones en el mar que un juguete, trivializado en los estafadores, marionetas en el juego de la esclavitud. En estos días hablo con los espíritus de mis antepasados y me dicen, silencio, hija. Escucho el ritmo con el alma entera y me dicen, en este océano de la existencia, el ritmo es un salvavidas. Escucho, vivo escuchando a los ritmos africanos en todo y me encuentro un espíritu sempiterno, un espíritu nacido de recuerdos en los puestos, mi herencia renacida. En cualquier país de mi diáspora negra todavía presente, este espíritu irrompible, el latido de la cultura siempre cuchicheo, compartiendo recalos de secretos ancestrales y hablando con los pies y bailando por mi canto. Black diaspora. Listening to the warning in the African winds, the oldest of my great-grandparents. Through our language in the waters, better a meal for the sharks in the sea than a trivialized game for the sharks that walk the land. Pawns in the ugly game of slavery these days. I speak with the spirits of those that went before me, and they tell me, be quiet, child, listen to the rhythm with your entire soul. And they tell me, in the ocean of existence, rhythm is a life jacket. And I listen. I listen and I live listening to the rhythm of Africa and everything, and I find myself an everlasting spirit, a spirit born of memories hidden deep in my bones, my heritage reborn. My Black diaspora is wherever I am, always present. This unbreakable spirit is the heartbeat of my culture, always whispering, sharing the secret ancestral gifts, and dancing to my songs and speaking for my feet. Let me see, I'm trying to see what's happening on the time thing here. Okay, I think I can get these two in here. This is called La Marca, and La Marca was the name that they gave for the brand that they put on slaves. La Marca, or the branding iron blues. A mark, a brand, a stain, greed, self-righteous claim to absolute ownership of my spirit. Pork like a scar on my soul, a swallowed ocean of burning tears, moaning a never-ending feel hollow. La Marca, the painful result of too many years of glorified madness. It sits there. I say it sits there smiling, a barbaric ritual practiced by sanctimonious heathens. Never lets me forget the incessant attempts to force me to accept the legally acceptable sadistic fantasy called slavery. But I didn't do it, they say. Why can't we forget, exclaims the devious ostrich, singing the same old I'm innocent mantra on their way to the banks built on our backs. Those terrible days were so long ago. They cried to their $300 an hour accountants, why bring up this old news mess? Why can't we let it go? They want to know, as the torch of red hot branding irons write nightmares all over my jeans, shows it's behind every time I find myself at the very end of the line behind some experienceless kid I trained who gets the job that should have been mine. La Marca, an indelible stain on my DNA, an unforgettable horror, a symbolic reminder as real and as strong as real can conveniently acknowledge agency of those 40 acres and a mule that got away and left me with nothing but a case of the branding iron blues. And no, I can't forget, I won't forget La Marca and the brutal servitude it represents. This ugly scar still sits there irreverent, proudly smirking, comfortably wrapped in the very profitable stench of my burning flesh, making sure I remember to never forget and remain an in-your-face history that time can't erase. So the ever-present insatiable disciples of green gods never, ever, ever get a chance to do it again. Last but not least, I'm going to do this one. And at the very end, I'd like you to join me with this one. It's called I Know We Can. We have been here before. We sang in the face of the Klan and danced with feet all bloody on the decks of slave ships, on the longest walk on freedom marches and jail cells and concentration camps. Oops, ghettos. That we're supposed to call our home. We know this place. The concrete jungle, the reservations, are cursed of and by the uncivilized who have forgotten the healing beauty of grass and trees and the gift of clean water to drink and have lost their ability to love. We are familiar with the senseless mayhem of perpetual war, the addictive lust for power, the intoxication of bloodlust, and those who prefer the inhumane sacrifice of their souls as they try to steal ours. Yes. We have been here before. We know the hanging tree, the rope, the rape of our bodies, our cultures, the theft of our songs and our children. We have swam through the slime of misogyny. We've been here. We know racism, greed, and stupidity have no conscience, and it's only a matter of time before the insatiable self-destruct. Before they devour each other. We've been through it all before, and we can get through it all again. We just have to be careful, very, very, very careful. The madness of this narcotic is contagious. We must not get drunk on the stench of this poison. We have too much work to do. We must turn this suicidal drug into fertilizer and let our tears fall down on deserts, glaciers, and jungles, and run down the faces of good-hearted people everywhere. And I cry 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 and I cry, and my tears come down like a waterfall, an unending waterfall for all the victims of civilization. We have been here before, and together we can heal. I know we can. I say, I know we can. I know we can. You say it, everybody. I can't hear, but I can feel you. Come on, everybody out there, say, I know we can.
I know we can.
Yes, indeed. I know we can. Say it again.
I know we can.
Loud enough for the ancestors to hear. I know we can.
I know we can.
IT, you're in my heart forever. And whatever you folks out there who are listening to us right now, please do what you can to help, because together we can heal this madness. Might not be right away, but we can do it little by little with your help. Thank you so much for listening to my words, and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you so much, Avacha. And I know we can too. And I know we can raise money for the Haiti Emergency Relief Fund, because there's no hurricane or earthquake that can stop Haiti or can stop us. And here's the information. You can go to www.haitiemergencyrelief.org, and there's a donate button, or you can send checks to the address here, or just go to the website and you can see all the information. The Haiti Emergency, the East Bay Covenant, rather, is a 501c3, so you can make tax-deductible donations. And we want to be clear, there are no administrative costs in the Haiti Emergency Relief Fund. So every single penny that you give goes directly to Haiti. Theologian, cultural worker, singer-songwriter Francisco Herrera has produced 7 albums, including 2 for children in Spanish. He also writes for theater and film. He's a regular on KPFA, on Flashpoints and other programs. I'm sure many of you have heard him. He can be found in gatherings for victims of domestic violence, migrant laborers, protesting private prisons, and international solidarity. His latest album, Honor Migrante, brings together regional music from Mexico, combines it with US and Chicano soul, and reflects his passion for social justice. Thank you so much, Francisco, for joining us today.
Oh, eh, oh, eh, I, oh, oh, eh, oh, eh, I, oh, our teacher, our leader, sower of a seed called democracy. Haiti, me is you, and you is me. Tú eres mi otro yo. Your smile gives me courage. Your song strengthens my heart. Your resistance energizes my hope. As your intelligence and creativity brought freedom to this continent. First truly free nation of the American continent and the Caribbean. Haiti, who took that courage to free yourself and lent a hand and heart to secure the victory for the American nations from Chile to Mexico, making sure freedom meant freedom, including the freedom from that murderous capitalist project called slavery. And today, your long walk through America, from Chile to the US, The blood you've shed cries out to us as you cross the Darien jungle in Panama, as you engender children creating families in Tijuana. Your example challenges us to change the system which oppresses you and oppresses us. Keep that song of rebellion to the evil singing. Keep that dream of Anacaona alive and ringing. Keep that song of rebellion to evil singing. Keep that dream of Anacaona alive and ringing, because none of us are free, none of us are free, until all of us are so. Oh. And this goes particularly to all those families crossing the borders. And the English part of the first verse says, how much sweetness and courage of a mother and her child as they migrate and walk towards a better life. Cuánta dulzura y valor de una madre y su niña que migra y camina hacia una vida mejor. If this is really the home of the brave, may our gates now be open for you who had the courage to walk through a perilous fight with a child in your arms. Our children are sacred, nuestras niñas son sagradas. Our children are beautiful, bellos son. Our children are a gift, son el regalo más amado. Our children are sacred, sagrados son. Y aquí están, cruzando fronteras. Y aquí están, trayendo la verdad. Son la voz de Dios y nuestra conciencia, pues por la violencia cruzando están. Our children are sacred, nuestras niñas son sagradas. Our children are beautiful, bellos son. Our children are a gift, son el regalo más amado. Our children are sacred, sagrados son. And here they come, eyes wide open to the violence we have caused. They come bearing gifts for a better tomorrow, healing the sorrow, opening hearts. Our children are sacred, nuestros niños son sagrados. Our children are beautiful, bellas son. Our children are a gift, son el regalo más amado. Our children are sacred, sagrados son. And here they come, llenas de esperanza, de una vida con ganas de amar, pues son las maestras, doctores, artistas, madres, ingenieras de un mundo de paz. Our children are sacred, nuestros niños son sagrados. Our children are beautiful, bellas son. Our children are a gift, son el regalo más amado. Children are sacred, sagrados son. Our children are sacred, we welcome and embrace the family, yeah. and give them a love. We declare sanctuary, yeah, building bridges, not a wall. Oh, sanctuary, we all belong to the earth. Our children are sacred, sagradas son, yeah, sagrados son. Por eso vamos a cuidarlos, quererlos, amarlos. Sagrados son. Na 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 na. Oh yeah. I got the spirit to rise through the pain, and my heart will remain in God's hands. Resilient. Ooh. I got the power to speak out in the truth that it's in me and you. That love lives and gives. Resilience. Prophetic is love. Oh, breath of life. Prophetic is love. It makes me take a stand. I will stand in the palm of love's hand, 'cause I know who I am. Na, 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 na. Thank you. I pledge $100.
Thank you so much, Francisco. I think that we can all agree that our artists are sacred too. And our children are sacred. And I had the privilege of going to the UNIFA graduation in 2019. And I can tell you that the incredible joy of this graduation, of course, all graduations are joyful and wonderful, but this had a particular flavor. And to see the graduates toss their hats into the air and know that they are going to become the next generation of doctors and lawyers and nurses, physical therapists, engineers, was really incredible. And that's what UNIFA is. It's for the next generation. It's for the people of Haiti, but also it's investing in the next generation. And that's why we're asking you to give today. And that's why we're so happy to have these incredible artists with us today. And, you know, the children are sacred, and this movement and the poets that are here today represent ages from in their 20s to in their 70s. And it's a great honor for me to present Shanga Laboussiere, who is a new young poet. And he writes and he says, I am a writer, rapper, and poet from Oakland. I have a bachelor's degree in creative writing and a master of fine arts from Columbia University. Writing is my passion. The pages of my notebook have always given me a place to reflect, heal, and overcome. We're so happy to have Shanga with us today. You're on, Shanga.
Hello, hello. Can everybody hear me? Am I able to be seen and heard right now? Yes, I hope so.
It's all good.
All right, perfect, beautiful. All right, thank you so much, Merk, for the introduction. Much respect and admiration, and thanks to those who performed before me. And thank you all for watching and supporting. Please donate if you are able to. So I'm just gonna get right into the poem. I hope you like outer space and extraterrestrials in your poetry, because I do. So this is gonna be poems about that. I'll just go straight through each one. A Martian homecoming. Sliding into the red sands, my feet turn into roots, sinking deeper, seeking deeper soil, and I grow rings, a flash flooding of memories, the oceans, long gone, long dry. I hear their gentle crashes fill my ears as I rise higher and higher, as high as the planet is willing to let me go. A Martian writes a postcard. I am not of this planet. I am the last son of Mars, last of the now lost green Martians. To Earth I came in peace, and now I exist in pieces, fragments. Life on Earth, I search for a word to describe it all, and hospitable is well beyond reach. I gradually learned how to resist resisting, as it is the only way I appear sane. My shape shifts to your taste buds as I morph to this form so you can digest my words. This postcard from me to whom I may disturb. A Martian and a bee meet. The small ball of sun rays and night sky spots me, its wings vibrating in my direction, rendering me an appropriate place of rest, an appropriate place of safety. Shape shifts me to petals and pollen, a welcoming, a delicacy, a nurturing, a presence worthy enough of a visit. With a constant singing, it floats to my smallest finger and lands with an imperceptible gentleness. I feel you have seen fear. They run from your strike, from you. Do not worry, new friend. I would do nothing to make you hurt you. Humans, they know not the power of their own sting. The Martian learns of double consciousness. I walk up the street, no cars purring by, none of their nighttime staring to further illuminate the close huddle of buildings or the smooth ground beneath my shoes. I know the cold creeps its way into the spaces between skin and clothes. As I approach my residence, a mother and her young daughter walk ahead of me, the daughter drifting behind, savoring each step, absorbed in her mind's adventures. I smile as I pass, her laughter filling the empty night air. Her mother sees me and grabs her daughter, holds her far away from me. The mother's mind screams in my head, hideous, and stay away. Her stare pierces its way into the spaces between my body and soul. Is it because I am the only green being on this street this winter? I tried to scan her mind to see how I can alleviate her horror. I consider every way I can twist my body. In panic, I decide to communicate, harmless, by blending in with the night, becoming invisible. But she can still see me. and my new hue makes her fear more urgent than before. After the fire. We could never be alone, no matter where on the sands we strayed, all telepathically linked to the great voice. But there is no more all. The only mind I feel is mine, or however much of it the fire left intact. The light brown sky peeks through the black plumes. The wind, one of the only beings who still howls, one of the only who still roams the planet, leaves no footprints. I can hardly step. My feet fear learning how similar ashes and sand can be. But walking helps to escape the wind and its cruel games. It taps my shoulder as if someone else were here. There's no one else under the sky and nothing for me to call mine. But isn't everything here now mine? I mean, how long would it take to collect all the sand, every grain, and further rearrange the planet? My voice comforts me. I count aloud, stopped when my progress is snatched by the wind, cycling the planet. Sometimes I follow its winding path over smoldering debris until I realize it's long gone, that there's only more nothing to see. Sometimes I let the sands wash over my feet or take a fistful of grain and rub against my skin to sand myself away. Maybe I can be where they are. Sometimes I hear them when I speak. I converse with the air, hoping they can hear or respond. The sun has been setting and rising as if there was a reason to differentiate the days. But sometimes the wind greets me, tells me to resume my count, and gives me back my sand. Sometimes I count the ones that crunch between my teeth too. And sometimes I arrive at a familiar house. I enter, the only voice calling back is mine, and at my feet, in the family room, lies a pile of sand. The Martian meets NASA's rover. You are here searching for proof of life when everything you need is right under your wheels. Each grain of red marks a world shifted. This new dust, its composition is ash, is bone, the green of vegetation in our skin, minds, the great voice, heartbeats. Home was once home. The Martian remembers the night of 1,000 suns. A spark of thought finds its way into an open mind. It started with a bright blizzard of glowing embers dancing through the air like fireflies. Then a continuous exhalation of hot breath singed our skin. Thick black spouts of smoke curtained the sky above. The stars disappeared until explosions of white hot light erupted across the scorching plains. The mind becomes kindling, giving into this fire. This fire feasted on the living, the thinking, the soulful. The ubiquitous green we knew as home gave way to tidal waves of flame. The red-orange beasts cackled as their teeth gnashed through our bone marrow. A flickering amber fog suffocated our sight in the sizzling air, malleable and rippling, melted to the whim of each blazing pyramid. And the body follows suit. The sweltering heat hugged all too tight. The orange-yellow grabbed us by the eyes, stared deep into our lungs, and inhaled. With moisture sapped, our mouths became microcosms of this new Mars. We coughed out final goodbyes, choking on the remains of our home, of our people, until our tongues were swallowed by soot. Everything burned black in the floodlights of the blaze. All that remains is in a state between matter and memory. Saltwater. We become formless, shapeless. Like water, we crash and flow, intertwined like two oceans too close to be just neighbors. We come together, our tides rise and subside, bending to the moon that is our minds. Every crater, the darkest sides of the satellite, we pour into each other. Every trough and crest, subject to touch and caress, we ride our own current, ebbing and flowing as we become an ocean. An elegy for us. Now there's a boundary between us. We shared lives, bodies, histories. Now we both burn apart. The morning after, I awoke to find my chest smoldering. Sometimes I seek respite from respiration. On brighter days, I think of my future, and you shine in my visions with a halo of hope. Near our district, the stream is slowly but certainly evaporating. When I walk by, there are times I see your face. I nearly drown, chasing one last moment. Mariah. When that roaring mouth of flame finally caught up and started to claim me, I called out your name like instinct, Mariah. Maybe because it embraced me as close as you used to, or I needed an ocean, salvation for you to help me, or just be with me in this intense burning, or to let you know that I was coming, that I'd finally see you and our daughter again. Mariah, they're sending me to you. Here I come. Mars speaks. We have found you. Since your departure, we have been one heartbeat away from home. We felt your footprints flee from our sands. All this time we've been anticipating, hoping for your return as much as you of us. All this time, you thought you was the only one of us alive? Damn, your mind has always been something. Your skin still is brilliant green, my jade. You're still my brilliant jade. I have seen the way pupils regard you here, and yes, I felt everything. You felt too much, but now there is no need to shapeshift anymore. Lose your form. Home is here, restored, anything but ashes, anything but an aftermath. Come speak again in the great voice. Come back. And the Martian realizes how long he's been on Earth. I sit at home. It is raining, and I have been here too long. I have shed and shrouded myself in too many skins. I try speaking in my native tongue, but that too is split. I can hear the earthlings' voices reverberate inside my head as I try to speak. I have lost track of what words are my own. I sit in a house. As the sky waters the earth, it lightly knocks at the windows. I walk to a glass door. I see a figure I cannot recognize. I do not know if I should let it in. The Martian is missing. The shapeshifter has vanished. The last son of Mars is no more. He might have melted. He might have disappeared. We do not know. The Martian is nowhere to be found. His presence seems to have evaporated. I repeat, the last Martian is no more. He is nowhere to be found. Here on Earth, we have no updates. We are waiting to hear from Mars. We cannot find the Martian. The brother from another planet is missing. Maybe he has gone extinct. Maybe he has become one of us. Maybe those are one and the same. Thank you so much for your time. Please donate if you are able to. Thank you.
Thank you, Shanga. As someone who loves outer space, that was fabulous. And I think for all of us, this listening to these fabulous poets is like dancing through the air like fireflies. We're really happy that we had all of you today, but you know, we're not finished because the Haiti movement, solidarity movement, is a people's movement, and this is a people's poetry show. So I know several people have signed up for the open mic, so I'm going to get ready to have you all. But before I do, again, please donate to the Haiti Emergency Relief Fund, www.haitiemergencyrelief.org, or you can send your checks to the address on the screen. And remember, every single penny, 100%, goes to the people of Haiti, and in this case, to building this incredible hospital at UNIFA. I believe there are two poets who want to be recognized in this open mic session. Daniel Zwickel is the first one. Daniel, are you here? I don't see you.
Yes, yes, I'm here. I'm sorry, I had trouble unmuting.
Okay, can you go?
Yes, I can. And I hope that I am doing this properly. Forgive me Let's see. I want to go to share screen. And here is the song. Now tell me, can you hear the music?
Yes.
Great. Seems to me that you and I could change the world together. We could make it better by being truly who we are. It seems to me together we could learn to love a stranger, nullify the danger that confronts us near and far. It seems to me if we could see the wounds that must be healed, we'd move our hearts to yield the compassion that they bear. It seems to me the earth could be a garden filled with laughter, to blossom ever after, the beauty all could share. At night I dream, and in my dream above the hills I'm flying. Tears of joy I'm crying from the depth of love I feel. As I descend the hand I reach with one whose fingers fashion understanding and compassion with a touch that surely heals. And in the end I find my friend, it is you, my sister, brother. We find in each other strength we need to carry on. And in your eyes I realize the joy I found in living. Now in wonder and thanksgiving I arise to greet the dawn. And in the end I find my friend with you, my sister, brother. We find in each other strength we need to carry on. And in your eyes I realize the joy I find in living. Now in wonder and thanksgiving I arise to greet the dawn.
You know, Daniel's father had this great saying. Once we asked him, he was 94 years old, and we said, how do you keep on doing it? And he said, I've been an activist my entire life, and it's a life worth living. And I think Daniel's living up to that, and so are all the poets and performers today. So I want to thank you all. Next, we're going to have the inimitable Carolyn Scarr, who is really responsible for these poetry readings, and I'm so happy to have her today. Carolyn?
I really grasped what our dear friend Shago was saying. I really also love science fiction. This is not what this is about, though. I have two poems. One of them dates back to Vietnam. One of them dates forward to Haiti. Wasted. Forgive me, Father, for I have sinned. Speak, my son. We drank too much, my buddies and me, in Nam, and smoked dope, and lived wild and reckless. Your body is God's temple, my son. Repent and you are forgiven. sin no more. In the towns, oh, it was wild. Many, many nights, I and my buddies, we slept with prostitutes. Children, really, but whores just the same, and we slept with them. God forgives the repentant sinner, my son, sin no more. There was this village father, and some of our guys had got killed, and some had got hurt real bad. This village father, and some of those gooks had to be Kong, Father. They just had to be. We wasted them all, my buddies and me. We wasted them, old men and babies and women. And we burned their straw shacks, me and my buddies. We wasted the whole village. And in the jungle, we caught this gook. He stood there skinny and shaking in his black pajamas and didn't say anything. I put my gun to his head. My buddies held on to him, and he looked away and didn't say anything, just leaned away as far as he could. And I wasted him, Father. His brains and blood all over the place. I dreamed that blood, the smells in my rage and fear. Absolve me, Father, and let me be clean. The blood, oh God, the blood. There is no sin, my son, in the service of your country. No sin. But the blood, Father, no sin. I have to say that this poem is not just about Catholics. It's about the failure of all the churches at that time and now. And now forward to Haiti, invoking the flood in Port-au-Prince. Sudden rain descends outside our dining room, drops the size of thimbles, strike the courtyard awning in rackety thunder. People run to bring cushions in from chairs, take down clothes from the line, shut windows. Runoff from the brief downpour converges on the city below, built on the dump. The child care center is knee-deep in brown water. Mud and garbage flow in a filthy slurry from surrounding suburbs down to City Soleil, the city of the sun. A wall surrounds the city of toil, where people slaved for $1 a day in cavernous buildings, now echoing empty. In the brief rain, unsound foundations crumble. The walls go down, crush these lean-to shacks. 5 people die. Laws of gravity reverse, water flow uphill. Cleanse of filth the city of darkness. Purify each crack and corner of the city of greed. Wash clean our lives. Prepare us to build a city of light. And let us help with the construction of that city by putting a good contribution in the pot. Okay?
Thank you so much, Carolyn. I believe Vincent wants to go next.
Yeah. Thank you all for organizing this event and pledge to the Emergency Haiti Fund, as I did. This is a piece I wrote after at the Eric Gardner and Michael Brown incident for Gil Scott. Snow was falling in America. Snow was falling on the backs of the bluest blackberries, the blackest blueberries, Snow is falling on the backs of Blacks, and it's so cold. A wicked snowstorm blew when Eric Snow dropped a line on the NSA. But who cares if they're listening to our cell phone conversations, if they're reading our emails? Who wants privacy anyway, right? We all want to be celebrities. Snow falling, fell on the backs of Blacks in New York City, Detroit, Chicago, St. Louis, South Central Los Angeles. Tout moun leve, moun ap déplacé. It fell on the cap of Freeway Rick on Central Avenue and made you ask questions like, who is Gary Webb and what does he have to do with this puzzle? I saw the revolution on crack with snow falling into pipes, men eaten up by purple blotches infested with HIV and dying of AIDS, snow falling on Compton Avenue and 108th Street, snow sold by Oliver North in our big cities to fund the Contra rebels in Nicaragua. All the shells from shots fired is a metaphor for all the Black men and women lost in the labyrinth of alleys in the times through and between BC and AC, before crack and after crack. Tout moun leve, moun ap déplacé. I saw the revolution on crack, so very be careful, young Black, with fire-breathing Panthers shot down like Fred Hampton in the Chicago 8, brothers bubbling up their brains in the futile ghettos of North America, smoking up pale pebbles from the grief of it all, losing their minds. Do you remember the nights of the living baseheads, digging under cars, scratching pavements for change? I saw the revolution on crack, fingers burnt up and turned up for making pipes out of soda cans. While we search through Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook for answers, why is another young Black man unarmed, dead, and shot by the police? That looks like one bad dude. Snow fell on Amadou Diallo, Eric Garner in New York City, Oscar Grant in Oakland. Snow fell on Trayvon Martin in Sanford, Florida, fell on Alton Sterling in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Snow fell in IT on Lavalas, TT'd. Philando Castile in St. Paul, Minnesota, Terrence Kutcher in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But the revolution is on crack and we're living our lives through our iPhone 6s, computers, and Blackberries. We don't have time to bother with the NSA. And snow keeps falling on the bluest blackberries, the blackest blueberries on the backs of Blacks. The revolution will be on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And you may not have time to hit the like button. Padisa, padisa. Padisa, padisa, se wano. Pawen poko mo we wo, pui ma we pawen. Vesh miracle, femne mano. Se oui jamboje, kiri pa mache. Deon devon, sa pavle mache. Ya se vai oble. And snow is falling in America.
Thank you so much, Vincent. That's a great ending to our program. And I want to thank Devora, Tongo, Avacha, Francisco, Shanga, Daniel, Carolyn, and Vincent for gracing us with your presence today, because yes, artists are sacred. And we want to thank all of you for attending, and of course, for contributing to the Haiti Emergency Relief Fund. And remember, it's www.haitiemergencyrelief.org. I hope to see you in the future at all the events that Haiti Action Committee will be doing, as well as the Haiti Emergency Relief Fund. There are some really great webinars coming up. And so you will all get our voluminous emails. And I also urge you to go to HaitiSolidarity.net to see the latest news from Haiti. Again, I want to thank all the poets, and Robert and Pierre, for gracing us with your presence today, as well as all of you. And now I bid you good day and see you next year. Bye-bye.
Stay safe, everybody.